Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm Darren McBreen. It is Thursday, July 7th, 2016. Here's a quick look. What's coming up?
Tonight, following FBI Director James Comey's announcement that Hillary will not be prosecuted, House and Senate Republicans shut down a Clinton investigation. After that, Governor Jerry Brown attacks the Second Amendment by coming after magazines. And while boatloads of migrants illegally enter the United States, wildlife patrolmen disarm and detain American reporters. That's next.
Yeah, we've been told we can't go back down around the border. Anything that's considered a wildlife refuge. Yeah, they gave us criminal trespassing. We had to pay. We were extorted. Had to pay $690 to get our firearms back. We were extorted. I mean, that's plain and clear.
How many times have you heard liberals say, nobody's going to take your guns, right? In fact, they're always quick to point out that Obama's 8-year tenure in the White House is almost over. And so far, nobody's kicked down your doors and confiscated your firearms. In fact, it was Obama himself who has told us several times, we got nothing to worry about.
When y'all go home and you're talking to your buddies and they say, he wants to take my gun away. You've heard it here. I'm on television, so everybody knows it. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in people's lawful right to bear arms. I will not take your shotgun away. I will not take your rifle away. I won't take your handgun away.
The notion that I or Hillary or Democrats or whoever you want to choose are hell-bent on taking away folks' guns is just not true.
Contrary to claims of some presidential candidates apparently before this meeting, this is not a plot to take away everybody's guns. You pass a background check, you purchase a firearm.
Well, there you go. You heard the president. Nobody wants to take your guns. They just want to make you register them and restrict transfers. And they only want to ban certain kinds of guns, not all of them, just certain kinds, like what they call assault weapons, for example. They don't want you to have those. And they don't want you to have magazines with more than 10 rounds. They want to limit that. And come to think of it, they're trying real hard to prevent you from carrying a gun. They don't want you to have a gun on you personally. They want gun-free zones where you are basically left defenseless. And they want to ban or limit certain types of ammo. And they want all ammunition purchases registered and cataloged by the Department of Justice. They also want mandatory psychological evaluations before you are allowed to purchase a gun. And if they catch you violating any of these made-up rules, they want to throw you in prison, at which point they will come and take your guns. If you can't see the irony in having a gun ban enforced by men with guns, well, then you fail to understand why the Second Amendment was written in the first place.
Throughout history, only slaves are disarmed.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
For all of you actors out there who go to your red carpet events surrounded by full battle rattle SWAT teams while you accept your awards for your latest violent movie. For all you politicians who spend your 9 to 5 days scheming up ways to take away my Second Amendment rights. Meanwhile, you have first responders on site there to protect you. I say this, come and take it.
There is one distinction in history above all others that marks free individuals, free populations, free nations from that of captive slaves. And it's also important to note that throughout history, most nations have been enslaved to an elite. But if you go back to the ancient Greeks, the cradle of democracy, 480 BC, we see the Battle of Thermopylae at the Hot Gates that's been popularized in many Hollywood movies, where 300 Spartans stood against hundreds of thousands of Persians. Now, if you went back to Persia, none of their general population or their empire were allowed to be armed. They were slaves. Only the king and his military were allowed to be armed. And those 300 that stood against that will live on forever. Then if you accelerate to 1775 in Lexington and Concord and the attempts by the British Crown to disarm the colonists, we see a repeat of what happened with the 300 back in ancient Greece at the Hot Gates fighting the Persians. If we move forward to 1835 in Gonzales, Texas, Santa Anna came to disarm the Mexican citizens of their firearms, and the people again fought back. If we look at what the Soviets did in Russia, or the Maoist communists in China, or what Fidel Castro did, or what Hitler did, they always seek, be they communist, fascist, it doesn't matter, to disarm the people before they enslave them. And that's why it's important to reflect as the greatest assault on the right to keep and bear arms in our history takes place, that this historic battle isn't just an American battle, it's a battle fought by all peoples around the world. Only Switzerland and a few other countries still have some form of right to self-defense. And it's important to note, as we see the right to self-defense being taken away, we also see the right of free speech being taken away, the other mark of a free individual. So I thought today we'd look back on some of the famous historic quotes dealing with the Second Amendment. First, I want to give you a quote from Senator Dianne Feinstein, who famously said that if she could get the votes
for an outright ban, picking up every one of them.
Mr. and Mrs. America.
Mr. and Mrs. America.
Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. I would have done it.
I would have done it.
She would vote to ban our guns.
We need to do this every day of the week.
We need to brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
And remember, this is somebody to this day guarded, even though he's retired, by taxpayer-funded armed guards. It is so incredibly arrogant.
They get bitter. They cling to guns or religion or antipathy towards people that aren't like them. Barack Hussein Obama.
From my cold, dead hands.
From my cold, dead hands.
From my cold, dead hands.
Charlton Heston.
The right to defend one's person and one's home when attacked has been guaranteed through the ages by common law. Martin Luther King Jr.
They've denied for so long they're coming for our guns. Now they admit they are.
A nation of sheep will be ruled by wolves.
Because holding a gun makes me a real feminist.
Come and take it. Battle of Gonzales, Texas, 1835.
Molon Labe, King Leonidas at the Battle of Thermopylae.
This is the big assault, ladies and gentlemen. So now it's time to use the First Amendment to defend the Second Amendment.
If you think gun control is going to change the terrorist point of view,
I think you're like out of your mind. I think anybody is. I think it's absolutely insane.
I have a strict gun control policy. If there's a gun around, I want to control it. Clint Eastwood.
Go ahead. Make my day.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state.
The right of the people.
The right of the people.
The right of the people
to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment.
Everybody knows that you either use a right or you lose it. And we're using the First Amendment to defend the Second Amendment. Now, our last big push was with the Hillary for Prison shirts, and it became a national meme, and it's had an incredible effect, and it's brought so many patriots together. I want to do the same with this Come and Take It shirt. We're gonna have a whole bunch of different varieties coming out. This Texas version is the first of a group of limited editions. We've got one with the classic Cannon and one with the classic modern M4. And on the back it says, "Don't tread on me, Infowars.com." This shirt is an absolute must-have. It's athletic cut, and it's got this incredibly soft contouring fabric that everybody in the office loves. Support the InfoWar, support the Second Amendment, support the First Amendment, and meet like-minded people today by getting your Come and Take It limited edition shirt at InfoWarsStore.com.
Dads demand guns because it's me that's got to get up and go check out that noise at 2 a.m.
Well, I tell you what, the Founding Fathers would not be very happy with the political climate in America today. And how's this for a difference in opinion? This is a quote from Hillary Clinton just last year when she said, "I will get the NRA shut down for good if I become president. If we can ban handguns, we will do it." And if you compare that to, let's say, George Washington, it is night and day. Our first president said, when the government takes away a citizen's right to bear arms, it then becomes the citizen's duty to take away the government's right to govern. That's right, and we got a lot of work to do because, believe me, the government is cracking down and there is a big push for gun control. I mean, just look at what's going on in California. Governor Jerry Brown says he's coming for your high-capacity magazines, and he just signed off on what might be the most draconian gun control laws in the country. SB 1446 says any person who possesses a large-capacity magazine, that's 10 or more rounds, they must dispose of that magazine. They want you to surrender your magazines to law enforcement, or you can personally destroy them yourself or ship them out of the state. The point is, you are no longer allowed to have magazines with more than 10 rounds of ammo. And that means literally hundreds of thousands of magazines that were previously legal have now become contraband. And Jakari, it gets worse, am I right? I mean, do you think this is worse than Chicago? I mean, this is some of the worst I've ever seen.
Well, when you talk about the gun laws that are in Chicago, they have changed a bit, but they're still not good. They definitely do have some of the strictest gun control in the country. But this is what is known as backdoor gun control. Yep. The way that they're coming after it, they understand that every time there's a mass shooting, people go out and buy record numbers of AR-15s, AK-47s, even though they keep telling you that nobody wants these guns. Everybody wants to ban these guns, and I talk about that with Michael Cargill in the video coming up. But when you look at this, they're saying that they're going to come after your magazines. And to be very clear, these are not high-capacity magazines. These are standard capacity magazines. Yes. When you go buy an AR-15, AK-47 may come with a 20-round, a 30-round magazine. That's not high capacity. That's just another one of these buzzwords, buzz phrases that the left comes up with to scare you into thinking about these guns in a vastly different way, to quote our former Attorney General.
One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
I want to take a look at some of the new rules in California. Ammo sales by mail order or internet purchases outlawed.
Ridiculous.
Right? Transport of ammo from out of state banned. And we're talking about they want permanent registration cards. So you have to go through a background check just to purchase a box of ammo. And they're going to permanently track, trace, and register all ammo purchases with the Department of Justice.
Well, the thing about this is, Darren, we've always heard this argument that we don't keep track of your purchases. There is no registry. While they're saying right here, they're going to make a registry.
Yep.
They said you paranoid gun conspiracy theorists think everybody knows you have a gun. Nobody has a record. We destroy your record. You're saying you want to create a record of the people who have these things in their home. And it's not illegal in and of itself to own ammunition or a firearm or, to carry it in your vehicle. Different states have different laws, and definitely check your law so you can be compliant with that. But they're just trying to make the most mundane activity illegal, as we saw in places like New York, the New York SAFE Act, saying if you have a particular style of buttstock, that now makes it an illegal weapon. These are cosmetic features that have nothing to do with the way the firearm functions. It's just a way to, like I said, backdoor.
And regulate everything to death.
Yes.
And here's another thing that's going on in California. You cannot loan your firearm to anybody except for immediate family members. If you were to loan it to, if we lived in California, I wanted to loan you my gun, the only way we could do it, we'd have to go through a bunch of red tape. We'd have to send a letter and something to the government so that getting their okay. We have to get the government's approval.
I'm just not one of these people who thinks the government should regulate every part of my life. Mm-hmm. I'm a legal gun owner. I even have a concealed carry. Yeah, a lot of people make the argument for constitutional carry, but I went that extra step and got it. I'm not breaking any laws. If I want to own a firearm, if I want to go to the gun range and have McBreen or Biggs or whoever else shoot my firearm, I should be allowed to do that without the nanny state coming in and telling me how many rounds I can have in my magazine, what type of firearm I can have. And I